Hi everyone, I'm replacing Jen, who's in Australia, couldn't make it today. I'm going to talk to you about Reef Check Australia, and it's going to start with a little story. Reef Check Australia is 15 years old, so it has learned some lessons about citizen science, and you'll see that many people have been involved in our work so far. What happened is that in 1996, at the Coral Reef Symposium, a manager stood up and said to the coral scientists, "So, tell me, how are the coral reefs of the world?" And there was a big silence in the room, because no one could actually say how are the coral reefs of the world across the globe, because everybody was using their own method, was looking at their own little home reef, the pet reef that they were closest to, and we had no way of comparing apples with pears. So somebody stood up and made a new method called the Reef Check method, and is now recognized by the UN as the method of choice to look at coral reef data on health of coral reefs. And Reef Check Australia has been doing this for 15 years. So, Reef Check is a global network. Reef Check Australia was funded in 2001, and we've got 60 sites. Basically, it's all along the Australian coast, even in places where you would think there's no corals. And basically, it's of interest because it's on the whole Great Barrier Reef, but also in places like Brisbane, where there is a high increase in population, and due to climate change, we're expecting some of the species to be starting migrating south. Oop, okay. What do you see there? Okay, the whole picture is there. So we go on train volunteers. They are divers already, and we train them very thoroughly. And then they go and collect conditions of reefs. And here you can see, for example, that at the bottom of this picture, there's one circle, one pie chart that is very purple. And this was our volunteers who identified that there was a big problem with discarded fishing gear in that location. And this led to the local authorities taking some measures about how to handle that problem. We also deployed our volunteer around different places by retraining them, not in the Reef Check method, but for example, on this island, there was a really old map of the habitats around the island, and we were able to retrain our volunteer just a little bit and send them to gather all the data around. You can see at the top of the top graph there, and make an actual good map around the island that is going to be used for management purposes. Okay, so we're collecting good data. Was it enough? No. We had to go and show how good it is. One of the lessons learned is that the data you collect is going to come under scrutiny, and you better make sure that you can show how good it is. Otherwise, people will say, your citizens are just citizens, they're not scientists, and the data can't possibly be good. So, sorry to say, but you have to be prepared for that. The other thing is that you have to be prepared for making it publicly available. So getting yourself a database, which often costs a lot of money, and then you can still not expect that people will come and use your data. And you have to be prepared to go and train your own ambassadors to go and give value to that data and bring it to the people who most need it. So lessons learned from Reef Check Australia. Make a lot of partnerships. It's all about leverage on your relationships to people, get good data, have a good method, engage some scientists that can help you publish your data to make yourself credible out there. Make sure you have a database that is publicly available, but do not count on just Mr. Smith coming to beg for your data, because they're not going to do it, and you will have to be your own ambassadors for what the data is saying. That's my contribution. Please come and talk to me afterwards if you have an interest. Bye.